Right. The Finder starts the morning and it says that Ghana is a haven to invest in. President Akufo-Addo tells UK investors. World Bank Lords Akufo-Addo Adwa Safo over policies to cater for the marginalized. The Daily Guide says CID grills 3 MPs over double salary scandal. Capital Bank boss nabbed. That's a story here. And Nana fires NSA board chair over visa fraud. The BNFT says SOUs to go under single supervisory body, state-owned enterprises. The Independent carries a story. Ghana is a haven of peace, stability. President Akufo-Addo to investors. And the Today newspaper carries the story of the suspension of the board chair of the National Sports Authority. Those are some of the newspapers I have with me this morning. My guest to do the talking, the Member of Parliament for the Asin South constituency, is a member of the NPP. Reverend John Tim Fojo is here. Good morning, Reverend.
Good morning.
Hope you're doing great.
By the grace of God, I'm doing very well.
Thanks.
I trust you're doing so.
I am very good too. Thanks so much for your time with us. And a former member of Parliament for the Nanton constituency, a former Deputy Minister of Trade and Industry is also here, Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. Good morning too.
Yes, ma'am.
Hope you're doing great.
Yes, ma'am.
Your students were yesterday misbehaving on campus.
They are not my students.
Because you were a student leader, so I see that as your student. All right. Thanks so much for coming. But it's indeed a sad situation to see. Is it that we have allowed it to fester, or they're just doing what you guys used to do in those days?
Well, good morning to your cherished listeners, and good morning to your good self. And good morning to my reverend politician, a very good friend of mine. We haven't been on programs for some time now.
Yes.
And of course, good morning to the good people of Nanton constituency. I would just say that it's not new. In Legon,
to this extent?
No, it's not new. Frankly speaking, we've had worse, incidences as far as I'm concerned, and it's not only in Ghana. You remember, having served in student leadership in Ghana, I became the Secretary General of the All Africa Students Union for 4 years. So I traveled across the continent of Africa, and I do know how students across the continent behaved. In as much as I am not condoning that kind of behavior, because times have changed, things have evolved. One would expect that some of the things that happened when we were students, and those who were students even before us, we wouldn't be able to engage in those things. But be it as it may, sometimes it adds to the, if you like, the energy of students at that level. But the extent to which things are captured on video, where people are beaten, where threats of will kill you and others, and I think that is extremely appalling. But if you ask me, this is not new. We have had incidences where students of Katanga and other halls have clashed, where students of Commonwealth Hall and other halls have clashed. In Legon, I was in Legon Hall, but I was seen as an associate member of Commonwealth Hall because I was always in Commonwealth Hall. And many people, until I say this, thought I was in Commonwealth Hall. To be very honest, I was in Legon Hall. But when I went to do my second degree at Tech, I stayed in Katanga for a year, because I was supposed to be at the Spring Hostel, and then the rooms were not that available. So I stayed in Katanga for a year. So I have a feel and understanding of some of this. I have heard people who say that these things are driven by occultism.
Right.
I really don't think that it is.
Not?
No, I don't think that there is. It depends on how you would define occultism. As a matter of fact, if you ask the university authorities and even students, they will tell you that if Commonwealth Hall is non-existent in Legon, Legon wouldn't be interesting. If Katanga is non-existent in Tech, Tech wouldn't be interesting. If Casford in Cape is non-existent, you need to have some of these things. Because look, university means the entire university in a city. You've had a lot of students who go to the university. They are not interested in other extracurricular activities. Their interest is just to book. And that is the reason why you listen to some university graduates and you wonder, that what kind of graduates are they? Because I remember that when we're even in the universities, and it still pertains, there are people, their focus is just their subject area. They have no time to read other areas. If he is doing psychology, whatever he reads is psychology. If he is doing, engineering, whatever he reads or she reads is engineering. That is not the purpose of university education. You can read those things and get a first class. but you'll not be able to fit in the world of business or the world of market. And being a university graduate, unfortunately, people judge intelligence based on the class you have gotten, and sometimes the university you have attended. That is how people judge that. But beyond that, today, it is not about even the course you did. I did psychology my first degree. I went and did plan, did international relations. You see, so you move. What is important is to just have the degree. Unfortunately, many people go there. The focus is I need to get a first class. If I don't get a first class, heavens get loose. So he would do everything to get a first class. So he'll come out as half-baked university graduate. I'm not saying that you can engage in other extracurricular activities and still make a first class. So I would urge that conscious effort should be made towards, you know, training students to be complete graduates in our universities. But with some of these incidences, I mean, I wouldn't want to moralize the discussion. I wouldn't want to say that those who engage in it are different breeds of students in the universities. But I wouldn't encourage
So it is not that we are turning out students who are not properly trained.
There are leading members of this country, both in politics. Some of them are reverend ministers. Some of them are leaders in societies. If they tell you the kinds of things they did in the universities, you'll be shocked. You know the Egbe Fable. I remember when we came to Legon our first year. He was then the outgoing, you know, chief vandal.
Right. I remember he was a chief
vandalism. When you listen to it, I told you I wasn't in Komotol, but it's something that is lovely. They make the university very interesting. Let me put
this question to Reverend Tim Fudge. Reverend, some have suggested that look, we can control what is happening by turning these the male-dominated halls, Casford, Katanga, and the Vandal City, into mixed halls. Send the ladies there. It will control the way the young men behave. Is that really what you think can tone down the way some of these things are done?
Yeah, good morning once again, and good morning to my brother, Comrade Mutala, and of course our esteemed viewers. And I must say that I must remind the delegates for the Central Regional MPP Delegate Conference coming up this Sunday at Kaswa.
Okay, he'll pay.
It's very important that some arrangement must be made on the side. It's very important to appeal again to the delegates MPP Central Region to kindly renew the mandate of Chairman Robert Kutin Jr. It was during his tenure that we were able to turn around the fortune of NPP Central Region from 7 seats to 19 seats. I mean, that achievement has been unprecedented. And the essence of politics, as Comrade Mutala will agree, is to win political power. So if the man and his team have won political power, won the presidential for the region from 43% to 53%, and parliamentary seats from abysmal 7 seats to 19 seats, unprecedented. Of course, we appeal that they renew his mandate. Yeah. Now, to your question, frankly speaking, if any attempt is done at mixing those halls, it
will nowhere.
It will spoil a lot of things. I mean, to put it lightly. But there's a certain history of and culture of Katanga, Commonwealth, and some of these halls, Casford, and some of these very vibrant historic halls. And I think that culture will have to be encouraged, albeit certain elements of indiscipline is what one can do away with. And I side with Comrade Mutala and recalling and recounting many of the very responsible leaders that we have had in our country over the years in various spheres, politics, religion, entertainment, media. These are people that were very vibrant. These were people who mostly traced their route to Katanga, to Casford, to Commonwealth and Vandals, and they are very responsible men in society. And so that culture of exuberance, very little can be done to tame it. It's a whole unique style, but the indiscipline bit,
threats to kill and stuff like that.
The indiscipline bit is what I would discourage, and that's speculated occultism dimension, which cannot be discounted. If it is true, and something will have to be done critically about it. And the reason why I acknowledged the many responsible men that Katanga, that Vandal, that Casford have produced for the country and even for the diaspora should be the more reason why the current students that are privileged even to be inhabiting in these halls must project into the future and ask themselves, where would I want to be in the next 10 years? Do I really know where I would be in the next 20 years? And the responsible position and leadership role that I would play? Will anything that I'm doing presently be inimical in the future? And could it be a ground that will limit the extent of influence that I ought to exude? These questions, if asked, and if my brothers would want to, interrogate themselves and appreciate the impact of current actions and inactions and the repercussions that may have possibly in the future, I believe that it will encourage them to be measured, even in the way that they display that beautiful culture that has been a legacy over the years. And I would not encourage any tampering of that culture, albeit it must be done decently, must be done orderly, it must be done in a manner that will be devoid of indiscipline, in a manner that will be devoid of occultism, in a manner that would not be inimical. Now, as we speak, there are certain clashes that even lead to death. There are certain clashes that lead to some permanent disability injuries. And you ask yourself, is it really worth it? The bright future that you have, is it really worth sacrificing that for the indiscipline dimension or occultism dimension? And sometimes I feel that is overly done. So let us check that.
Okay.
But that culture of exuberance, I mean, we've all been young before, right? Okay. You and I, Comrade Mutala, we've all been young before, we've had our days, and they have the opportunity, but we're encouraging them to do it in a very
decent way. I'm grateful.
Quickly, you see, if you go to the university, and I'll tell you an interesting thing, there are some students who certainly cannot live in a mixed hall. I lived in Legon.
Because of what?
I'll give you just practical examples. Commonwealth Hall, you can walk bare-chested. Commonwealth Hall, you can go and sleep in any room, whether the room belongs to you or not. Commonwealth Hall, you can walk anywhere someone is cooking and then you can eat. You certainly wouldn't have this prevailing match in the mixed halls. In Legon Hall, sometimes I remember at a point in time I was in N block. You had ladies up and you have men down. Go to annexes, you are mixed. I mean, you don't have that freedom. Commonwealth Hall, economic position and economic disposition is not a yardstick to determine who lives in that hall. But ask those of us who lived in the mixed halls, those things were happening. To be very honest, I remember I had a friend who was cooking beans. A very brilliant guy. He just did his PhD. And then in his floor, they were calling him Beans. Because we're living in a mixed hall. You can't have that in Commonwealth Hall. One other issue, if they take a sample in the universities and ask whether they should have them as mixed halls, I don't think they can. I'll give you a story ahead, whether that story is true or not. Just last one. I'm told that there was a time they wanted to make Commonwealth Hall a mixed hall. So when students vacated, they brought in some ladies. You know, they admitted fresh students, brought some of them into Commonwealth Hall before school resumed. You know what they did? They didn't say anything. This is a ladies' room. Someone will come naked and knock the door and say, please, can I get some pepper? Can I get some onion? There are people, exactly, there are people in Commonwealth Hall, to be very honest, who don't even have soap. But they can get soap in the washroom too, but you can't have that in the other halls.
Yeah. Right. Just to add briefly to what Comrade Mutala mentioned in the previous submission, the university education must be seen as an opportunity for all-round development. I mean, beyond the academic discipline. I've always campaigned that students would not have to box themselves even within the confines of the discipline, because mostly people have had to settle for certain programs because that is the only program they are cut off, whose cut-off point their grades could qualify. Perhaps because their parents wanted them to be engineers, doctors, or pharmacists, so they chose those programs. But really, that may not have been what they originally intended. So instead of inclining towards some of these indiscipline and occultism and other exuberant tendencies that may take away the future of such individuals, let us use that as an opportunity where the social element, the very beneficial social element, will be harnessed. Most of the things I do today, well, because of the social, value that I saw the opportunity to add to myself in UMAT and other places. But unlike in your case in Legon, in School of Mines, George Grant University of Mines and Technology, it was almost a boys' university. So all of us would be Gold Hall, for instance, or Chamber of Mines Hall, for instance. We had ladies in there, but we were able to do, we felt free as Commonwealth would do. It was just like a handful of ladies were there. Okay. So that is one unique thing about
I'm grateful.
That we want a student to visit Yuma, a very beautiful place.
Let's start on the president's trip, the Commonwealth Heads of Government meeting. The statesman put the story here. Rule of law, not slogan in Ghana. The president yesterday was addressing the meeting. He explained that this is because the country offers the peace and stability required to secure investment. He's asking investors to come to Ghana. He said Ghana is a haven of peace, security and stability. He goes on to say that touting the strong democratic credentials of the country, President Akufo-Addo stated the rule of law in Ghana is not a slogan but an operating principle of state development. That was when he spoke to the UK-Ghana Investment Summit that was organized by the UK-Ghana Chamber of Commerce. That's the story. Daily Graphic captures it same and says, Ghana, ideal place to invest in. Let's start the conversation here. We'll also touch on Theresa May's concern with gays. Now, Reverend, bringing in investors or asking them to come in, do we have, the president said the rule of law is not a slogan, do we have that environment to attract these investors, or we're just simply asking them to come when we don't have that environment to bring them in?
Yeah, I hold a strong opinion that since the year 1992 in the Fourth Republic, Ghana has been a very stable economy. Ghana has been a very stable state, and there hasn't been such instability that will be inimical to doing business in the jurisdiction. One would agree that to have foreign direct investments coming into a particular country, there are very important fundamental conditions that must be conducive. One is stability, one is peace, security, and then of course the macroeconomic conditions, that the macro fiscal space that must be very conducive, and of course the legal framework that will also serve as a very protective incentive for any foreign investor to come in with the strongest assurance that the investment will be protected. There are laws that are respected. The framework of the rule of law is strongly upheld, such that the investments that are going to be put into the economy will be excuse me, will be protected. So for the stability and the peace aspects of those conditions that are requisites, we have had that over the years, in the past 2 decades. But you can recall that from the past 1.5 years, one dimension of the conditions which has become very, very conducive is the growing macroeconomic stability, where we have the macro physicals set out well, when you have the cedi doing well, when you have the inflation reducing, when you have interest rates going low, when you have cost of doing business steadily declining. These are the conditions that foreign direct investors would look out for, and that enabling environment has been put in place by the current government, and that has taken a lot of response. You recall that in last year alone, there were visits to this country of notably more than 11 very important statesmen and president and heads of state from various parts of the world who came in to visit Ghana, and each of them who came in was strongly and ably accompanied by a team and delegation of business leaders from their country. And this is a very positive response to the conducive macroeconomic conditions that have been put in place and position Ghana as a hub for investment and a peace haven for foreign direct investment, and recognizing that the private sector is the engine of growth, and to achieve the very overarching strategic aim of developing Ghana beyond aid, it is important that we attract the right investment. And to attract the right investment, you need to set in place the right macro-physical space. You need to set the right climate for doing business. And that is exactly what has been done. So now businesses have the comfort to expand, and new businesses have the comfort to, you know, throw in more investment to expand the economy, to provide that space.
Okay, wrap up
and that has implication for employment. And interestingly, the focus here is not just to exploit certain raw materials and just export, but significantly, the direction is for foreign direct investment to come into the country to add value to our raw material and ensure that value addition is done, and then we're able to add value to even what we would in turn produce. But again, there's another dimension.
Right. Let me go to comment.
There's another dimension as to whether maybe this would be my initial comment.
Okay.
Yeah, and then I'll come again.
I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Comment. So
I thought you've made all the comments.
No, this will be my initial comment. Yeah.
The president said that the rule of law is not a slogan. The platform is set for these investors to come in.
Well, there is nothing wrong with any president, you know, trying to woo investors to come and invest in your country. It's a very good thing. And I think that successive governments have done that. And that is what governments do. Yesterday, I was watching SABC, and the current president of South Africa had indeed constituted a team who would woo investors. Interesting part of his statement, which was a very long speech he gave, had to do with the need for them to attract investors within Africa to come and invest in South Africa. So there is nothing wrong with that. But honestly, when I was listening to Reverend, I was wondering whether he was talking about Ghana or he was talking about a country that I do not know. As a matter of fact, we have had a stable country in this country. Unfortunately, the stability that was indeed bestowed to this president have been eroded. Under a leader who is a lawyer, we are told, with standing repute, under his watch, something has happened to the judiciary that has never happened anywhere in the world, where you had a terror groups associated with a political party walk into a court of competent jurisdiction and virtually lynch a judge.
This propaganda doesn't fit in
at
please,
all. I listen to you.
Okay, Reverend, you
just give.
Of course,
this is a statement of fact that people went to a court in Kumasi, members of your party, and in fact your general secretary admitted and publicly stated that they won't disband that group. By the way, he sits at cabinet. You had a member of parliament, Kennedy Ajapon, who praised and defended them. Your party never disassociated themselves from it. I'm saying that under his watch. Now you tell me that rule of law, again, let us not make mockery of ourselves, particularly leaders when you travel. We live in a globalized world, in a world where everybody can sit anywhere and be able to tell what happens in any country. You live in a country where people sleep with one eye opened. You live in a country where police officers who are supposed to be providing us with protection themselves are crying for protection. That never in our political history, as far as the 1992 Constitution is concerned, have we had 4 police officers killed in 1 month, January alone. The extent to which every single person who matters in this country admitted that the security situation in this country is at a precarious state. Now, every investor, there are very important things that attract investors to come and invest. Of course, the economic stability. Inflation is going down. People are crying. People cannot even afford. What is important in all these indicators is stability and security. First and foremost, security for the protection of your investment if you want to invest in any country. And most importantly, your personal safety and security. The personal safety and security is ramshackled. It's in complete disarray that people cannot even guarantee their security and safety. Please, the extent to which...
I'm overblowing this.
Why? Are the facts not enough to tell you that this is not overblown? That in this country, you have 4 police officers killed in just 1 month, in January alone. In this country, you have military officers killed in the discharge of their responsibilities. I'm not saying that we haven't had incidences where police officers are killed in this country. 1 month alone. So if you tell me that is overflowed, is it not a fact that Delta Force and Invisible Forces members went and attacked the court? Is it not a fact?
But
I am saying that
is
the
it also
security...
the fact that our judicial system dealt with that?
Was it the responsibility of the judiciary to deal with an attack on them? It was the responsibility of the executive, which is financing those terror groups. It wasn't the responsibility of the judiciary to protect themselves. It is the responsibility of the executive to provide protection for the judiciary, for you and I and everybody. So that is not their responsibility. So what I'm saying is that when you talk about those indicators, you can go and woo them. It's a very good thing. There is nothing wrong. Why is it that now we are associating the number of leaders who visited this country? Many leaders have visited Afghanistan than they have visited Ghana. Many leaders have visited Syria than they have visited Ghana. When you achieve economic indicators, when your economy is doing well, stability, and you don't have peace and security, it will come to naught. If you had visited Libya, Syria, and those countries before, who had economic muscle that is indeed larger than we have today, if you visited those countries and you visit those countries today, you would come to one conclusion, that every single country, peace and stability is sine qua non to the progress of that country. You can have all the achievements that you want to achieve as a country. If you are not able to maintain peace and stability, it will come to naught. We have seen multi-million-dollar investment just within 1 hour destroyed. And that is why when we raise the issue of stability and security in this country,
which multi-million-dollar investment has been destroyed?
I said we have seen multi-million-dollar investment across the globe.
Yeah, we're talking about Ghana. You are getting impressive.
Okay. What impressive?
You go on,
please.
The Ghanaian business climate.
You are not listening to me. If you are listening to me, you would understand.
Yeah, so Bright, I'm checking the time.
Reverend, I'm coming.
You don't determine the time.
He's wrapping up very
So I'm saying that for the you see, let's get something very clear. When you are having an intellectual discourse, you are not limited to just talk. I am bringing in those examples and pointing out to you that this incompetent, super incompetent government should pay heed. What is propaganda? Is it the fact that court was attacked? What is propaganda? Is it not the fact that 4 police officers were killed in 1 month?
Since I'm coming to you, you allow him to.
Oh no, he's allowed. He's allowed.
Yeah. So
you see,
he's allowed. You go ahead and
this is very notable of him. Today is even very, very good.
Comment. You go ahead and.
He's trying to play the victim.
He's my brother.
You spoke extensively.
He's my brother.
I had the decency and the patience to listen to you.
That's exactly what I'm doing.
And you can do that.
For you to finish, then I come in.
It's embarrassing.
The record straight.
Okay. Allow me to make my points. So what I'm saying, you see, when you hit at them, that's what they do. I am saying that this super incompetent government that has failed to maintain security and stability in this country. Just yesterday, what happened by invisible forces? Yesterday, I'm saying that if you are not able to do that, you'll be making mockery of yourself when you travel and asking people to come and invest. By the way, international organizations and national have all indicated that Ghana is reducing. We are falling down as a business climate or destination. Ghana. These are not the statements coming from the NDC. These are the statements that indeed are provided by independent neutral bodies that assess the investment. The number of people who have invested and the so-called investors they brought in, what has it brought to this country? You are talking about stability when our debt is ballooning. And in fact, we spend almost 6% of the revenue we generate from oil to service those debt. When you told us that you are not going to borrow, when you told us that the money was in Ghana, when you told us that we were borrowing because we could not. Now, what the NDC borrowed,
let me go to
what the NDC borrowed, we provided it. Tell us a single gutter that you have been able to do in this country with this balloon borrowing that this super incompetent government is engaging.
I am grateful. Reverend, so he's asking questions on issues of security, and he says that that is what is needed. That's without that, then everything that we achieve might go down the drain.
Yeah, let me submit that Ghana, one becomes a better place for us all to live in. It is to the benefit of us all as Ghanaians, and that must be the objective and the mindset and the posturing of every well-meaning Ghanaian. Now, when interestingly, the determination of whether or not Ghana has become a stable country, Ghana has become a secured country, and Ghana has become a safe haven for investment, the determination of that doesn't only lie in the propaganda of the NDC. If they wished, all the things that my brother Mutala has said here would be the narrative for Ghana. But unfortunately, that has not been the case. Unfortunately, the narrative is different. The world out there, IMF and very credible international organizations have a view of Ghana different from what the NDC is perceiving. If it is not NDC and it's only a personal view of Comrade Mutala, that may be granted. But again, just in April last year, Ghana was ranked the fourth best place to invest on the continent in Africa.
That's not true.
And IMF has projected Ghana as the, no, I will give you all the evidence. They are all here. These are rankings that have come and we've discussed on various shows that you yourself attest to. So interestingly, now on the issue of security, one certain act of insecurity started setting in, and of course, there is no politician can proudly boast that, I mean, during my tenure, there were less number of policemen that were killed, there were more people that were killed in this regime. So I do not fall into that analysis. Otherwise, I would have given you the crime statistics of various years from 2011 to date to prove to you. Prove to you. There was not a single regime that an MP was murdered. These are very unfortunate, incidents that one does not even want to get in. Now, we must move away. I hold the view that even if one police officer loses his life in line of duty, it's regrettable, it is unfortunate. Even if one person, one civilian, must lose their life in any form of burglary, that is regrettable and it's unfortunate. However, one must have that nationalistic view. Now, when suddenly there was this mysterious upsurge of crime, we had a notable statesman of this country who has been the founder of the NDC, had cause even to assert that he has cause to believe that these upsurge of crime may be politically motivated. I hope that in the final analysis, this may not turn out true, that for the pursuit of one political party's agenda, certain acts of crime may be politically motivated. I pray that does not turn out true. We all, as politicians, we are here every morning talking, we are in parliament, we are in various places, and we must be seen as striving hard for the betterment of the lives of the people, not to seek a misfortune of a country in whether MPP, NDC, or PNC is in power. I must, as a well-meaning Ghanaian, must wish that Ghana continues to be a safe haven for investment, that the livelihood of the people are improved, and the right things. Fortunately, the intelligence on Ghana's economy and the socioeconomic stability and peace and security, as the intelligence on this country is known out there to the countries, to every state that comes in. The US is here, have their intelligence. Every country, UK, Japan, China, they all have their intelligence. And they know that the narrative of peace and security is not as the propagandists will put it, and for which a commensurate response has been received. So instead of, towing the propagandist line, I would want us all, to market the stable macroeconomic conditions and the peaceful climate and the very formidable, do you know that there are expatriates who work in multinational companies who, when transferred from any attempt to transfer them from Ghana to any neighboring country in the sub-region, resisted. They all want to be in Ghana and work in Ghana. Because Ghana is relatively the most peaceful country in the sub-region. For which reason they resist even transfer to us. So let us be proud of the peaceful Ghana we've all built. Let us be proud of the safe Ghana we've all built. Let us be proud of the strong macroeconomic economy that we've all built, and sing this narrative to ensure that we attract the right investment, not for MPP, not for NDC, not for politicians, not for Ntim Fojo or for Mutala, but for Ghanaians.
Okay,
and that must be the posture.
I'm grateful.
That must be the direction.
Just a minute, and then I am moving.
Just a minute. He spoke. Please.
You
spoke. You can't tell me this. But let me just.
Yes, you can do whatever. You can say whatever you want to say.
You realize that
Ghana is not for NDC or MPP.
You realize when I was speaking. You see. You realize when I was speaking. He was unnecessary. You are a Reverend Minister.
Reverend, please allow him.
I'm a Reverend Minister, so I can't talk.
No, allow you.
I can't say my ideas.
You should be the person who should be encouraging us to respect the viewing public, but you are not.
We are respecting.
No, you are not.
Reverend, you allow him because I'm just giving him 2 minutes to do what, so that we can move on. Come in, please go on.
Let's get something very clear. I mean, I am scandalized listening to him, but I'm not surprised because it is a reminiscence of the psyche of the current president. That when you begin to raise questions about impending danger, they question your nationality, they question your patriotism. You have a president who led us into a senseless agreement when we raise issues and please let me finish. Let me finish. Right. Can I finish? Can I finish?
I think senseless is too
absolutely is senseless.
Absolutely.
You have an agreement. You have an agreement which the Minister of Defense brought to Parliament and says that you don't have the power to amend anything. Absolutely senseless. I have no apology for this. It's senseless. But can I make a point?
The point is that our representatives have agreed.
Which representatives?
Parliament.
Which parliament?
And approved this document.
We are questioning even the process of approval. Hold on. We are questioning because
saying that
our position is that that agreement was senseless. It doesn't inure to the benefit of us. And I would make a point. You have this. That yet when people question, not only NDC, civil society group, including some leading members within his government, who have said that, look, take a second look at that document. The president had an opportunity. He insulted everybody except himself. He was condescending, disorganized, destabilized, frustrated, and angry. He insulted everybody. Even you have, it wasn't only NDC. Please, he insulted them and questioned whether indeed we are. Oh, can I finish? He questioned whether we are patriots. Didn't the president question? Didn't the president, please? He did. And I'll tell you why. The president said that those who were raising the issues were not patriotic. He raised that. Now he sits here and he says that, you see, we should be nationalistic. Why? I am raising genuine concerns and I am making a statement of fact that it is a fact that 4 police officers were killed in 1 month. We have never had that. And if you listen to me, I said that this is not the first time we have police officers killed on duty. So but specifically we have 4 police officers killed. We have a fact.
Let me wrap up and let me move on.
It's not right.
No,
you see when I'm talking.
Yes. So wrap up and let me move on.
Minister, for God's sake.
If you haven't struggled,
you know, it's embarrassing that I'm the one. It's embarrassing that I'm the one telling you to respect the viewing public.
If you are struggling to articulate your propaganda, don't blame me.
So you see,
we're running out of time. Wrap up and let's move to another conversation before we
right. What I'm saying is that all the issues that I have raised, you don't say that we should be nationalistic. And I brought in the president because he also questioned the nationalism, the patriotism of people who have raised genuine concerns and asked that there should be a second look at it. Now, all the statements I have made, I did not concoct any statement anywhere. I have stated a statement of fact, and I thought he was going to challenge those statements that I have made. And I did also say that there is nothing wrong with we wooing investors to come. But what is imperative in any mind of any investor is, one, the safety and security of his investment and his personal safety. Now, all the things that we have done, successive government, nothing can be achieved if we live in a country where people cannot sleep with all their 2 eyes closed. That is the state of Ghana today.
Right. Okay, that is what it's saying. Reverend, just a minute, and then I am moving on to another case. No, you come in.
Contrary to the propaganda being spewed out. If people could not sleep and close their eyes in Ghana, why would Ghana be ranked the most peaceful country in the South region? Why would multinationals prefer to live in Ghana and even resist transfers to other countries?
You didn't want him to.
You should tell us
disrupt your thought. Allow him. I just admit it. Then
with my issue, you
in the name of politics.
Yes, allow him. Yeah, allow him.
In the name of politics, one may have their own style and posturing, but I do not think that any style or posturing should have one inclining towards spewing out very derogatory comments about presidents.
I cannot. Shouldn't have done that. Is lying. Particularly, you say said and you lie.
I cannot. Who has made a derogatory statement? People are free to criticize presidents and prime ministers and leaders and anyone at all. People are ready. People must feel free to criticize where they have to. But in so doing, one must be mindful. I cannot go to the extent of passing these words at any NDC president.
Which way?
He's the president of Ghana.
He's making a point. So allow him.
Ask him which way.
So allow him to land.
Then we know what he's talking about. That the president insulted that. I thought those were unfortunate and unacceptable, and I demand a revision of that statement.
Of what? That the president insulted everybody.
He is the president of Ghana. You may criticize his decisions or certain actions, and you have it's within the remit of your right to do that. But again, one fact that we must all establish is that a politician must not be seen as gloating over the killing or the demise of people. To cite that as instances, even to generalize. It is very regrettable for even a single, and I stated again, it is regrettable for any human being, any Ghanaian, any human being to lose his life in Ghana under any circumstance.
Your government doesn't care.
It must not be an object of achievement. It is highly inappropriate.
No.
Your government doesn't care about
it is not your time to talk. No, it is not your time to talk.
You see?
Comrade, it is not your time to talk.
So I would have the opportunity.
That is if I give you the opportunity, but it's not your time to talk.
Reverend, please go. I maintain that Ghana is a safe place, Ghana is a secured place, and we would even urge our security agencies to continue to work hard in ensuring that Ghana becomes even a safer place for us all to live.
I am grateful.
And that must be
Reverend, I'm grateful. No, I am moving on. No.
He said something
I am moving on because I don't have a lot of time. Let's quickly touch on this one. Now, comment. I have moved on. The publisher this morning says the UK government to help Ghana others review anti-gay laws.
I mean, I think that the public will be disappointed in you.
Okay, all right.
They are absolutely disappointed.
That's for me.
You allowed him. No, you allowed him to make those statements.
I have moved on.
So for the time he has granted you, he has been magnanimous.
All right. The publisher this morning.
I hate to say this.
I don't want to switch your microphone.
You can do that.
Let me go to the publisher this morning. Now, it says that the UK government has taken the blame for introducing anti-gay laws in former colonies such as Ghana. The government says that it is ready to help such countries review their laws to accommodate gays. The British Prime Minister Theresa May, while addressing the Commonwealth Heads of State meeting in London on Tuesday, said she deeply regrets the UK's role in introducing the anti-gay law. She said the UK's role seems to have resulted in a legacy of discrimination, violence, and even death in some of its former colonies. It is asking that it is ready to help countries that will review their laws to deal with anti-gay laws. Comrade, let me come to you in this. You think this is an attack on our laws?
You see, once again, I don't want to raise an issue and then you would add up with him and you don't. No, to be very honest. Look,
you go ahead.
Right. No, honestly, I am not happy and I don't think that the viewing public is happy because if we sit here and he spew out absolute falsehood, gloating over the killing of police officers, who did that here?
No, he did.
So why, if you knew that you were not going to give me the opportunity, you should have told him that he was lying. A reverend minister, sit on set and lie. And that's what he does. That's what couches political. No, that's what you do. No, but you are lying.
We have moved to another point now.
Anyway, but you see, well, that's where he goes. Repeatedly, when I'm speaking, he does that.
I don't have a lot of time, so you
right.
Go ahead.
This government told us that this precedent is bound to happen. You had people who came and defended. I am not surprised. And once again, I will go to that arrangement, the U.S. arrangement, and tell you how it has a link with promoting this particular act in Ghana. You have an arrangement that says that you cannot prosecute anybody who is under that arrangement, an American citizen who works in Ghana. Under our criminal laws, when two people commit a crime, and in this country, engage in same sex, it's a crime. It's a criminal offense. When you have an American soldier or a contractor, by the way, we were told that they are just contractors. The American contractors are not contractors. If you have an American soldier, an American under that arrangement, who engages in that act with a Ghanaian, And per the agreement, you cannot prosecute that American. Then how would you then prosecute the Ghanaian who engages in that? Look, this, you can't call it civilization. Let us begin to appreciate one thing, that civilization is not defined by a particular group of persons. In the perspective of the West, civilization is a man can marry a man and they engage in whatever. In their perspective of civilization, a woman can marry a woman. You can slap your father, you can slap your mother. Until such a time we began realizing as a people that in as much as we copy things that are indeed inure to our benefit and which does not derail our socio-cultural norms and values, we will have a problem. We need to understand that there are good things about the West and Europe and America that we need, just as there are good things about us that they may also need. But this hook, line, and sinker, where we take everything they do and bring it here, it is something that is extremely dangerous. And I'll tell you, look, the reason why a lot of us, almost all Orthodox religions, talk about this. The reason why we talk about this, and I will speak as a Muslim, if you look at the Quran condemnation of such act, that even when Lut, God, Allah wanted to punish them, he sent birds, and each bird went with a stone of fire, specifically indicating and demarcating who the stones were going to be thrown at. And Allah says that if we fail to speak, and at that time those who failed to condemn, they also suffered the consequences of the punishment. Now, if we begin to talk about these human rights and values, then we must as well begin to abandon the religious beliefs and faiths that we ascribe to. Because as long as we remain Christian, Muslims, and traditionalists, we need to uphold those values. And I have listened to very weak argument that is being made time and again. That yes, we can talk about that, but the religion is dynamic. Wait a minute. Religious beliefs are not based on reasoning. They are based on faith. That is the position of all Orthodox religions. That if you begin to use reasoning to explain religious positions, you would have problems. And that is where our society has become. That they tie some of these things with either aid, with financial assistance. To be very honest, my heart bleeds. Until such a time, our president should be as bold as Prof. Mills did, of blessed memory. He should be as bold as President Muhammad did. He should be as bold as the President Uhuru Kenyatta told President Obama straight in his face that this is an issue we shouldn't discuss. So I'm saying that when you begin to do that, if the West thinks that allowing that to happen is part of the civil liberty, freedom, and people expressing their freedom, why must they want to force people to do that? Okay. Now, will they accept trocosi? Will they accept female genital mutilations? Because they consider it as barbaric. The cultures that engage in it, just a second.
Yes,
the cultures that engage in it do not consider those things as barbaric. So let me have a simple message for them. Just as they consider certain cultural values as barbaric, so we consider same-sex marriage as absolutely repugnant, appalling, and barbaric. And I think that our president should be bold enough. The actions and inactions of this government points at a different direction.
Reverend, should Ghana allow UK to come help us review our laws on anti-gays?
Brian, I must state that I deeply regret the statement made by the Prime Minister. I deeply regret. And I must submit that we do not require, respectfully, we do not require the assistance of any country. We're a sovereign state. We do not require the assistance of any country in tampering with the value system that has stood over the years. And I must beg to differ, contrary to the assertion by the Prime Minister that it took Britain to introduce anti-gay cultural values and systems into our country by the introduction of anti-gay laws, and for which they would have to be responsible to reverse same. I must submit here that way prior to the coming in of any foreign national, Ghana had our indigenous strong cultural value system that abhorred this abomination, that did not condone this abomination.
So there were laws even before they came in.
It didn't take the colonial masters. It didn't take the colonial. No, we are very serious here. It didn't take the colonial masters to teach Ghana that gayism and lesbianism and bestiality were distasteful. It didn't take them to teach us. We upheld these values prior to their coming in, and that must be submitted.
And that value can withstand any attempt to bring this into
and Ghanaians,
our country.
And we must say, see, you recall that it took a very bold effort of mine, standing in strongly to campaign against the introduction of these elements, and standing boldly resisting these pressures coming from all angles that have persisted over the decades. That it has come with a lot of repercussions. If I'm to narrate to you the repercussions that I have suffered as a result of the bold stand that I took
within his own party.
And at the point, not within my party.
The president said his
at the point, I was expecting NDC MPs to even corroborate the position.
Please, our position is very
that was not done. Did you hear on any platform when that campaign was launched, when the Speaker of Parliament? No, Brian, let me make my submission.
If this is your position,
not a political issue.
If this is your position, is it then worrying when the current leader of the country says that this is bound to happen?
And that is where the angle that I'm coming
quickly
from. That, you see, the collective fight against homosexuality will be lost if we politically divide around it.
Oh, no.
It must be a unanimous.
How do we stay united?
It must be unanimous. Whether NDC, MPP, whichever political party one affiliates with, we must strongly resist any such attempt and tell the West, or any country for that matter, we respect our business and bilateral relations with you and diplomatic relations with you. As a matter of fact, the gains that these foreign countries, benefit from Ghana as a result of our trade relations, you will marvel at the aid that's coming here. So the 8 points cannot be tenable as a bait to threaten, threaten us to change our stance on protecting our values. There is no people in Ghana, from the north to the south, from the east to the west, where a family will gather. Where a family will gather. You see, and I am speaking as a Christian, I'm speaking as a Ghanaian, I'm speaking as an African, I'm speaking as someone who believes in the cultural values, who believes in the Christian tenet, and there's no religion that accepts this. Not that I know that that takes place in Ghana.
Unfortunately, we have to wrap up this conversation.
There is no people in Ghana, there is no culture in Ghana that accepts this. So the signal must go out there.
He doesn't have food.
And I must say that
I think he's made his point.
The president is not in any way.
The president says
the president does not support the introduction
but if it says it's bound to happen, it means that
liberal legislation
is bound to happen,
and that must be supported. That must be submitted.
All right.
Yeah, NDC may be free to do propaganda with this, but this is a very important issue.
Okay,
and
I'm grateful, gentlemen, for your time this morning. Reverend Johnny Tim Fojo is a member of the MPP, member of Parliament for Asen South. Comrade Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed is a former deputy trade and industry minister, former member of Parliament for Nanton. He's accusing me of not being fair today, but I'm grateful for your time. I'm sure you sent in comments. We'll read them. Stay with us. Sports comes up right after.